We are about to tell you about the most dangerous music scene on the planet. We are talking about singers who stepped on stage, performed their last song, and never made it home. Because in Mexico's cartel world, music isn't just entertainment. It's a death sentence. In this video, you'll see how one singer was literally ambushed minutes after leaving his own concert. How another got a phone call denying his death, while he was already dead. And the legendary voice that started it all, killed on the same night he gave the performance of his life. Let's start at number 10. And this one sets the stage for everything else. This is Chalino Sánchez Felix, better known as Chalino Sánchez. And if you don't know who he is, here's the short version. He's the reason narco corridos, songs celebrating cartel life, even exist. The man basically invented a genre. See, Chalino grew up dirt poor in Sinaloa, Mexico, surrounded by cartel violence since he was a kid. He watched his cousin get murdered. He killed a man who assaulted his sister. He smuggled people across the border. And then, somehow, out of all that chaos, he became one of the most beloved singers in Mexican history. But on May 15, 1992, everything caught up to him. Chalino was performing at a packed show in Culiacan. At one point during the concert, someone handed him a note. He read it, paused for a second, and then kept singing like nothing happened. Because whatever was written on that note, Chalino understood it. But what happened after the concert is where this story turns dark. Because after the show, Chalino was approached by men claiming to be police officers. They told him to come with them. He went. The next morning, his body was found in an irrigation canal on the outskirts of Culiacan. Hands tied behind his back, 2 bullets in the head. He was 31 years old. To this day, nobody has been charged. Nobody has been arrested. And Chalino Sánchez became a martyr. His tapes sold more after his death than during his entire career. But Chalino's death didn't stop the music. If anything, it sparked something terrifying. Because by the 2000s, narco corrido singers weren't just making songs about cartel life. They were living it and dying in it. Meet Valentin Elizalde, nicknamed El Gallo de Oro, the Golden Rooster, one of the biggest regional Mexican stars of his generation. Sold out arenas, had millions of fans. And on November 25, 2006, he headlined a massive concert in Reynosa, Tamaulipas, right in the middle of Gulf Cartel territory. Now here's the problem. Earlier that year, Valentin performed a song called A Mis Enemigos, To My Enemies, and Cartel Intelligence apparently interpreted that song as a direct diss aimed at the Gulf Cartel. So when Valentin walked out of that concert at around 3 a.m., a truck full of gunmen was waiting. His SUV was ambushed just outside the venue. Valentin, his manager, and his driver were all killed. Forensics later counted over 70 bullet casings at the scene. 70. The Gulf Cartel was suspected, but never officially charged. He was 27 years old. And look, you'd think after stories like that, singers would know better than to mess with these guys. But the terrifying truth is, it doesn't matter if you stay out of their business, because sometimes the cartel comes to you anyway. This is Zaida Peña, lead singer of a group called Zaida y los Culpables, young, talented, rising star. On October 26, 2007, she was at home in Matamoros, Tamaulipas, when gunmen broke in and opened fire. She survived the initial attack, barely, rushed to a hospital. But 2 days later, on October 28th, she died from her injuries. She was 22 years old. No confirmed motive was ever made public. No arrests were ever made. Just another file in Mexico's unsolved cartel murder cabinet. And 2007 was a brutal year. Because just weeks before Zaida was killed, another singer from Sinaloa had already gone down. Fabián Ortega Pinon, known as El Halcón de la Sierra, a popular grupero and norteño singer based out of Sinaloa. On October 10, 2007, he was shot and killed in Guamuchil, Sinaloa. He was 36 years old, just like the others. No official cartel claim, no arrests, no justice. Just another musician added to the list. Now, this next one, man, this one is something else. Because the cruelest part isn't how he died. It's what happened in the hours right before it. This is Sergio Vega, known as El Chaka, one of the most recognizable voices in banda and norteño music. And on June 26, 2010, word started spreading on social media and the internet that Sergio Vega had been killed. So what did Sergio Vega do? He called up a radio station and went live on air to personally deny the rumor. He literally said, "I'm alive. Don't believe everything you read on the internet. I'm on my way to a show right now." He hung up, got back in his car on a highway in Sinaloa, and within hours, he was dead. Shot by gunmen who ambushed his truck on the road. The man denied his own death, and then died anyway. He was 40 years old, and just like every other case on this list, nobody was ever prosecuted. But the most shocking case? The one that made international headlines? That one didn't look like a cartel hit at first. It looked like an accident. December 9th, 2012. Jenny Rivera, the Queen of Banda, one of the best-selling Latin artists of all time, worth an estimated $25 million, boards a private jet in Monterrey, Mexico, after a concert. The jet takes off, and then it disappears. Hours later, wreckage was found scattered across a mountain range in Nuevo León. No survivors. Jenny Rivera was gone. Officially, the crash was ruled an accident. The NTSB and Mexican investigators cited mechanical failure and possibly an overloaded aircraft. But here's where it gets complicated. Her ex-husband, former MLB pitcher Esteban Loaiza, was arrested in 2018 by U.S. federal agents, caught with over 20 kilos of cocaine. Federal prosecutors linked him to the Sinaloa Cartel. Was the crash an accident? Investigators say yes, but in a world where singers are ambushed leaving concerts and shot in their driveways, a lot of people are not so sure. She was 43 years old. Now look, not everyone on this list died, but this next case proves that surviving a cartel hit is almost as horrifying as not surviving one. Gerardo Ortiz, one of the biggest names in corridos and banda music. In June 2012, his convoy was attacked by gunmen in Culiacan, Sinaloa. His bodyguard was killed. Gerardo survived, but only barely. He never publicly identified who ordered the hit. He didn't go to police. He just kept performing. Because in that world, talking to authorities is often more dangerous than the original attack. And that silence? That's not unique to Gerardo. That's the whole system. But sometimes, cartels don't kill singers. They do something that some say is even more terrifying. They force them to perform. There are dozens of documented cases of cartel bosses, including members of the Zetas, the Gulf Cartel, and the Sinaloa Cartel, kidnapping regional Mexican artists at gunpoint, driving them to ranches or safe houses, and forcing them to perform private concerts for hours. Some were released, some weren't. And almost none of them ever went public about it because the message was always the same. Talk, and the next visit won't end with you going home. One musician told a reporter off the record, "You play until they tell you to stop, and you pray the whole time." Now look, we've talked a lot about singers who got caught in the crossfire. But this next case is something different, because this singer wasn't caught in the crossfire. He walked right into it, on purpose. See, for decades in Mexico, cartel bosses would commission corridos, pay singers to write and perform songs glorifying them, their name, their crew, their power. It was a flex, a status symbol. But accepting those commissions came with enormous risk, because once you sang for one cartel, you were marked by their rivals. And rivals don't send strongly worded letters. They send gunmen. Multiple musicians have been killed specifically because of the corridos they performed for the wrong faction. The song would drop. The rival cartel would hear it. And within weeks, the singer would be dead. This is why today, many of Mexico's biggest norteño and banda stars flat out refuse corrido commissions, because the money isn't worth your life. And I know we already talked about Chalino Sánchez, but I need to come back to him one more time, because 33 years later, his murder has never been solved. And the pattern he started? It never stopped. Between 2006 and 2016 alone, researchers tracking musician deaths in Mexico documented over 50 killings with suspected cartel ties. 50. That's more than one every 2 months for a decade straight. And the most disturbing part? Less than 10% of those cases ever resulted in any kind of prosecution. That means in almost every single one of these stories, Chalino, Valentin, Zaida, El Shaka, all of them, the killers walked free. They're still out there. So what happens now? Well, in 2023, Mexican President AMLO actually pushed to ban narcocorridos from radio and streaming platforms nationwide, calling them a glorification of violence. Spotify and Apple Music pulled some tracks. States like Sinaloa and Sonora issued broadcasting restrictions. And some artists, including major names, voluntarily stopped releasing corridos out of fear. But here's the thing. You can ban a song. You can pull it from streaming. You can arrest a few people. But you can't erase history. You can't bring back Chalino. You can't bring back Valentin. You can't bring back any of them. If you want to go deeper into the world of cartels and how they've shaped an entire country, subscribe, because we're just getting started.